reacting to Sho Baraka's video on 10 things that Christian hip hop can improve. But before we get into that, I would like to introduce to you my special guest today, someone who I've collaborated with a few times, a really dope Christian rapper from Montreal, same city as me, none other than KC Breeze. What's up? What's up? What's up, KC Breeze?
Hey, what's up, man? What's going on? What's going on, man? Glad to be here.
Yes, I'm glad to have you here. I wanted to have you here on stream to talk about this Sho Baraka business because, well, we're both Christian rappers here from Montreal. I think we can have a good talk about it and some opinions that hopefully are constructive and that can help further the conversation. But before we do that, just introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Casey Breeze. From Montreal, definitely, repping for the kingdom in terms of this gospel rap. I've been doing it since officially 2012, 2011-ish, until 2013, and then I stopped. It was a long pause, and then, by the grace of God, the fire came back, and also I was in a whole different stage in my life, and I wanted to do it again. So we're back, man, by the grace of God, and that's pretty much it.
That's good. That's cool. So let's get into the main topic. We have Sho Baraka here that has 10 things that Christian hip hop can improve. And I'd like to take a look at each of these things with you, see if we agree or disagree with them, and just have a good faith discussion about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So 4 minutes long, probably going to play the whole video, but pause many times just to respect community guidelines. So let's go.
Christian hip hop is losing its mind. And before I start, I just want to give a disclaimer. This is not some sort of subtle diss or ambiguous attack at any one artist. This is a very overt attack and a very overt chastising of your favorite artist in a genre that has so much promise. Okay.
Sheesh. Okay. So Sho Baraka's coming in hot, saying that it's not a diss to your favorite artist, but he has sounds like he has some harsh words for Christian hip hop, and he says that it's losing its mind. Do you feel like Christian hip hop has been losing its mind?
I mean, all right. The first thing I'm gonna say is I'm not going to lie and say that I've been following Sho Baraka for like lately. Of course, like I remember him, from like the old collabs with Lecrae, like and everything else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait in terms of my comments for later on the video, but for now, like I'll just say that it's extremely easy to kind of focus on the negative or like the people that are really like like there's two extremes, right?
Yeah.
It's extremely easy to to single out the people that are not really like preaching or that are losing their minds compared to the artists that are really they've been consistent and they've been definitely repping really hard for the kingdom for a long time. So I cannot wait to see. And I'll be honest, like we spoke about this, that we wanted to have that discussion, but I've never seen this video, so I'm excited to.
Oh, nice.
see
Okay.
it.
Okay. I thought you might have seen it, but
no.
okay, I'm excited now.
Article like on Rapzilla, like quickly.
Yeah.
I read, I didn't click on the video yet. So
okay, nice. Okay, that's good.
But for now, he is coming in hot.
Yeah, he's coming in hot. Okay, let's keep playing.
I believe that I have 10 things that will make CHH better. And I wish I would have considered a lot of these things when I was at the peak of my career. What am I talking about? I'm still at the peak, baby. First thing we got to do is we got to bring Jesus back into this thing. I don't know what happened to Jesus and why he got kicked out of his own genre, but we have to allow him back in.
Okay. I have to pause right here because I completely disagree that Jesus has been taken out of Christian hip hop. Yo, like, to me, hearing him say that shows that maybe he's not following Christian hip hop like that anymore. Maybe he's not really part of it and not checking for the new artists, because you have people like Indie Tribe, you have people like Holvey, you have people like Zanti, you have plenty of artists, and they are unashamed of talking about Jesus in their tracks.
Bro, I completely agree with you. And even me, I'll be honest. I'll keep it a buck 50 with you. I'm gonna keep it real.
Mm,
I'm not all the way like up to date with a lot of the new artists, but that's a good news. There are so many new artists that are really like repping for the kingdom that like sometimes I lose track.
yeah,
And from what I've been listening, they are it's it's gospel rap, and of course like sometimes you have like the the lifestyle component, but like Jesus is there.
yeah,
And my thing is now that I see the video, like I can see that the way that he is going after it is kind of, he's being like sarcastic, but at the same time I feel like maybe like sometimes you have a message for a few people, but you're
yeah.
gonna, oh like this is just like for uh generally speaking. I
Mm,
really feel like he had specific people in mind, but he played it like, oh, like I'm just, it's a general message. Maybe
yeah, but
maybe I'm tripping, but I feel like you said, there's so many good artists out there rapping for the kingdom that are not ashamed. And so like you said, it's either um he's not tapped in these artists,
mm.
or he is just like sticking to these bad examples.
Yeah, because if he was talking about very specific examples, I feel like that shouldn't warrant a video online. Maybe talk to those people, but not say that Christian hip hop needs to bring Jesus back.
Man.
If I'm being fair, maybe he's just out of touch, and he's thinking about a few years ago, because I feel like between 2017 and 2020 there was maybe less overt Jesus in Christian hip hop. There was a time when I felt like that, and I wasn't interested as much in Christian hip hop because I felt like we weren't talking about Jesus anymore. So
Mm.
maybe he's referring to that. But since like COVID, I feel like there's been a renaissance, and now like rappers, they've found their footing and they're starting to talk about Jesus again. So I don't know. Maybe that's what he's referring to, but I don't know.
That makes sense. The last thing that I want to add before you click play is that the touchy thing about the stage we are in now,
Mm,
me, him, and you now, of course you're older, but you're getting there. As veterans and OGs, you have to be extremely careful with what you see, because it's easy to label you as a hater. It's
yeah.
easy to say, "Oh, he's just a like an old head that is like salty because nobody knows him anymore." So you have to provide context
Mm,
and details, and I do feel like you said, if he was tapped in with what's going on right now,
yeah.
this video like would have been completely different. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man, because I love Sho Baraka. I love his music. I read his book. Man, I don't
Oh
want to just brush him off as some old head. He's got the white hair over there. I don't I don't want to just like hate on him because of
no,
his comments, but I, I feel like he might be out of touch.
like I'm not hating, but I do feel like you said. I feel like if you're tapped in and you know what's going on,
Mm,
it's it's basically like, I feel like the new artists right now, that's exactly like what the vibe they are giving us is, hey, we are bringing Jesus back, and we just don't care,
yeah, man.
you
Yeah.
know. So, anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know some of you have evolved so much and you're so smart. Just keep evolving. Okay. Secondly, English lessons. We need them. It's very important for the skill. Okay. We need to teach these rappers about metaphors, double entendres, motif, alliteration. It's seriously saddening, the scarcity of sophistication that I witness in these songs.
Hmm. Yeah. What do you think about that?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go first. Go first.
Um, Here's the thing. I might be biased. I somewhat agree, but ultimately I disagree, and I'm gonna tell you
Mm,
why. The I understand what he is taught. I really understand what he is trying to say, and because our generation, we've been around, the guys that were crazy with the pencil, crazy with the bars and the lyrics and everything else, and it was really like sophisticated rap.
yeah,
But this new generation actually don't care. They like this new generation. They are much more tapped in, like into vibing to your song, like your song being real. We can actually like relate, and actually, I feel like the more not vulgar, but the more raw you can be,
mm,
is like often I see that I might be tripping, but I feel like this is the way that you have to connect with these new fans. Because I feel like before the comparison we had was the Biggie Smalls, the Jay Z, the Nas, and all of these guys. But now these young kids, they were fresh off listening to Young Thug and Future and all of these guys.
yeah,
Now converted, they're going to church. They want to listen to some music. They were not around Nas. They were not around Jay Z.
mm.
So and for a lot of these guys, for a lot of these young cats, old school rappers are like J. Cole and Kendrick, which these kids, that's exactly what is happening. J.
Yeah,
Cole, that style with bars, and you're gonna fill your bars with like 20 words, and like for them, that style is an older style.
yeah.
So
I get what you're saying, but I think having spent time with like a lot of teenagers and maybe kids even, I think a lot of them can still appreciate like a well written punchline, right? And um like maybe not in the same sense as the lyrical technique and the alliteration, the use of language, as Sho Baraka is saying here, but just well crafted lyrics and dope punchlines, I think is something that's still appreciated today. So I think there is still uh, it's still worth mastering language to make good hip hop.
I mean, I agree. Like this is something that I strive for, right? But like to
Mhm.
be honest with you, um, I really agree. And like the way that I write my songs, like I always try to, to think and have like like various vocabs and everything else. But
Yeah,
I do feel like because these kids, um, like you have to consider what they were around, right? It's as crazy as it sounds. Like I'm thinking about like when I was in high school, and I'm thinking about like some of the songs that really had a huge impact on me, like when I was in high school. So I'm thinking about like a classic year, you can say 2003, because that was the big boom of like a guy like 50 Cent, right?
yeah.
But this is already 20 years old.
Mm.
So um if you have a young guy that is 23, 24, he might of course be like familiar with that style maybe, but for a lot of the youth, I feel like they will see the value in it, but I just feel like and like you hear him say that people need to learn like proper English. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he's got Frederick Douglass in the background, stuff
like
like.
bro, so like some rappers,
Yeah,
they don't have more than they don't have more than a high school diploma,
yeah,
right? So,
a lot of
but maybe he
rappers.
was trying to be funny, I don't know.
Maybe I can tell what you were saying before about him being sarcastic because he said, "Oh, you guys are so smart."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he was.
Oh,
But I didn't even know Shobaraka did YouTube like that. He's actually really good. That's
oh really?
Yeah, it's a pretty good video in my opinion. Even if I'm disagreeing up until now, I think it's a well made video. So yeah, but my question, based on what we're talking about right now, do you think because mumble rap has now like solidified its place in hip hop, like you said, there's Future, Young Thug, there, I would put them in the category of mumble rap. Do you think mumble rap has a place in Christian hip hop?
Of course, because here's one thing that us as gospel rappers and as Christian rappers we kind of forget.
Hmm.
Of course, we, in my opinion, we are part. of the culture, but we are not part of the culture at the same time. So what I'm trying to say is that, of course, all of your favorite gospel rappers were highly influenced by worldly rappers, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the cadences, the style that we kind of picked up from what's going on,
Hmm.
and in terms of like the mainstream rap. So what we are seeing, like in my opinion, you see how, like, I would have never thought in a million years that, like you said, bars and the hip hop and the lyrics,
Yeah.
that would be a niche. Now it's considered a niche.
Yeah.
It's no longer mainstream, right? Because before you had Jay, you had Biggie, you had Tupac, you had Cube, guys that used to really had a really nice pen. That
Hmm.
was the mainstream hip hop. Now, guys with bars and punchlines and all that,
Yeah.
it's considered a niche now. So
Hmm.
I think same thing. It might not be now, but when I listen to a guy like 1K, 1K is showing us that it's a wave. It is a wave.
That's true.
It's definitely going there.
Yeah.
Like the only thing, the and like you have to also think about it. What is the uh in your opinion, like which one is the easiest to do? Do some mumble rap and add some harmonies and some auto tune, or to be like lethal with your pen and go crazy with the metaphors and the punchlines and the cadences.
I want to say mumble rap is easier just because I know how like the hard work that's put into crafting a like well written song, but it's still there's still a subjective like aspect to it because even if you're writing a song that's mumble rap, you still need to write it like someone like 1K. If you still has some good punchlines, he still has some good rhymes, and he's singing, he's harmonizing, he's making those melodies. It's a good song. He makes good songs and they're very musical.
No,
So I think
it's
it's a different type of effort.
yes, yes. It like to me like it's definitely a skill.
Yeah.
It's definitely a skill, and I've been to the booth trying to do some auto tune, and I wasn't really nice with it. So I know how hard, but like what I'm saying is if you're 17 years old,
Mm,
it's easier for you to replicate what you are hearing a lot.
yeah, for sure.
So this is kind of what I'm saying. But oh yeah, like I'm sure that we're gonna see plenty of mumble raps and like all of that. Like I think like it's coming. Well, they are here now, but I think we're gonna see more.
Hmm.
Now, like in mainstream, the trap and the drill and like the melodies, that's become the mainstream rap now.
Yeah. So how much importance does like the lyrics or the depth of the lyrics, how important is that for Christian hip hop? Do you think it's any more important than regular rap?
Of course, of course. Um, but like I might be biased. I mean,
Mm,
of course, I will say yes because to me, like lyrics and punchlines talk to me.
yeah.
You know, I recall like when I was like a young Christian, and the first time I was hearing Bizzle had these mixtapes, like the Messenger. I think it was the Messenger
Yeah.
1, 2, and he was going crazy with the bars and each of these punchlines were like picking my chest, and I was like, oh man, this is crazy. But maybe for someone that is younger, he's gonna resonate with how you're gonna ride that that melody and that hook, and how you're gonna like
Yeah.
it could be different, but yeah. But I do believe because of what we do, like you have to be able to articulate uh, very complex things and really make them.
Make them simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with that. Okay, I'm gonna keep playing the video.
Yeah, man. You're gonna have to stop me, man. I talk a lot, so
No, it's good. It's good. This is exactly what I want. It's a good
so
discussion.
Number three, we got to stop caring about mainstream publications and mainstream attention. They don't care about you. Just be you. Just be, well, don't be you, because some of y'all need to change. But be the sanctified you, okay? That's where we'll land. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think a lot of rappers seeked mainstream attention when they saw that Lecrae was able to do it. But Lecrae went in there with the with the mission to minister to rappers where like other people weren't ministering. I don't know how successful that was, but then a lot of Christian rappers or younger Christian rappers saw that and they thought, "Oh man, I can make it in the mainstream." And I get it. I get it. At that point in time, I was also thinking of like writing songs differently to
Yeah, here, me too.
yeah, yeah. And I ended up never like I ended up not releasing songs for years because like it messed me up. I was like, no man, I don't think that God didn't want me to compromise what I was writing because the songs that I make usually have like a strong impact on a very few people, right? I have people that tell me that like songs have helped them like stay pure throughout their teenage years or like just get closer to God. So compromising that would have been just like compromising the entire point of my music. But I think probably a lot of other Christian rappers went through that time. It must have been a hard time for them as well. And yeah, we went through this weird transition period that I think we're getting out of, and I think we really don't need that mainstream attention.
I think. Oh, sorry. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Uh, I think I really agree with what he said, but the one thing that I will say is um, I really think because here's the thing, right? The um, we'll take the algorithm for example.
Yeah.
The algorithm on TikTok and IG only shows you the Christian rappers that are popping,
Hmm.
right? So you see uh Karen the Light, you see this girl named Cece, you see all of these people going crazy, and you know they have huge followings, and you know, and the one thing is that a lot of these kids they see this, and it's good now because now they see, oh, I can be me like 100% and still be relevant. But here's the catch: like
Mm.
Bizzle said one day, he said, "Yo, like I'm gonna rep for the Lord even if my thing doesn't pop.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not fire, and people don't listen to it." So I think the one disclaimer that, like the one thing, uh, it's kind of like you said like earlier. I really understand what Lecrae did, but I think the main disclaimer to everybody making music, especially godly music,
Mm.
is hey, nothing. There is no guarantees in terms of how many people will like listen to your music. It might not pop, but will you stick to the message when it doesn't pop? And I think the issue was also that a lot of artists saw that, oh, I'm starting as a Christian artist and I have, you know, like some type of clout or like some type of attention. And oh, the minute that I say, okay, I'm still gonna talk about God, but let me just remove Jesus, now they feel
Mm.
like they have more you know, more clout, engagement and things like that. So
Yeah.
I do feel like it's obvious, of course, that if you rep for the kingdom, you do it regardless of the cost. But I feel like people need to be like reminded that hey, if you're gonna do this, you need to understand it's a very small percentage of people that actually um, can attain that relevance. Even if you're in the states, and of course half of the USA, they kind of feel like they Christian. Like even if like sometimes a redneck racist can think he's a Christian in his mind, right? So of course the pool is huge over there for Christian hip hop, but
Mm.
still the percentage of you, like the percentage, the chances that your music will pop is very very small because overall in music what is happening now because of like social media, as you know, there is a saturation, and it's the same thing for Christian hip hop. So a lot of these kids need to understand, hey, if I'm going to do this, am I willing to do it regardless of what happens?
Yeah, but also if you're an artist, you still have to even if it's Christian artistry, I think you still need to treat what you're doing like a business. You need to have a plan, like a growth plan. You need to know where you're going, right? So like regardless of, yes, I'm going to keep doing music even if it doesn't pop, you're still going to seek to hit the algorithm, right? The mission is to get the gospel in as many people's ears as possible, and also work as a business, right? You become a business. You're trying to maybe make a living out of it, or maybe make it a side hustle, right? So uh like I think you can have both. I think you can choose to not compromise the gospel, not compromise talking about Jesus, and you can also seek to get into that algorithm, seek to get like collaborations that can help you further your business, right?
I agree. Uh, I do agree that this should be like your main goal. Like, of
Yeah.
course, you will reach for the stars, and if you fall, right, you in disguise. But what I'm trying to say is people need to understand you can go there, go hard, and have a plan,
Hmm.
but at the same time to understand there is a small chance of you being relevant, because I feel like I've seen some artists,
Yeah.
we all seen it. They did the switch, but the switch was only because they felt like, man, nobody's listening to me and it hurts my ego. That's one of the things you need to be okay with your ego, because
Yeah.
can you handle it if your thing is not popping? And a lot of these artists, they see it and they're like, man, bro, this hurts so much. And then they go in a completely different direction, uh, to have that clout. And then they just never come back to God after that, right? We've
Yeah.
seen. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get what you mean. Yeah, man, it's complicated.
I mean, it is, it can be all simple, but, and by the way, there's a lot of these Christian artists. Trust me, a lot of them say, "Oh, if I would, if my thing was not popping, I would have never changed my style." Blah blah blah. This is a lie. There's a
Mhm.
lot of these people that, if you were to put them in that situation, you spent 10K over the last 2 years, and you're basically, your business is a failure, and you're not popping.
I mean,
Will
if
you
you
continue? There's a lot of the real Christian will continue, but I'm sure some of these people that are easily talking bad on these other artists that were tempted to kind of rearrange their music. It's easier to say because they are relevant and they are popping. There are some of these artists out there, you don't know what would have happened if they were not relevant.
I mean, yes, but at some point, if you're treating your art like a business, you've spent 10K and nothing happens, you're probably going to want to scale down at some point, right? Like, still release the music, still continue, but not spend so much money on it. Maybe treat it more like a hobby, especially if you have like a wife and children, family
Of
to take care of.
of
That
course,
money can be used towards, better use. But anyways,
but and really good point by Sho Baraka, because also, like, what happens in marketing, like, also the first thing they tell you, like, in marketing, is that your branding has to be as simple for the customer.
yeah,
And sometimes when you confuse your audience with these different topics, and you're this, it becomes like, okay, like, we'll just forget about this guy because he's just like really confused right now.
hmm,
And sometimes I'm happy with the things that we see now with the youth, because they show you how, with social media, like Sho Baraka said, you don't need to please nobody. Be you, and if you do your things right, the people that gravitate with you and what you're rapping about, it will click.
yeah,
Like, it has the chance to click. And
hmm,
it's true that now than ever, you don't need mainstream magazines or like the source. I remember seeing 116 and like double XL and all that. That was cool.
yeah,
Seeing the same thing, and I was like, oh man, yo, this is really nice.
yeah,
They really fought to get outside of the box. You remember that, how that term was crazy, like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't want to be put in the box. I don't want to be put in
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
and I'm still sometimes going through that phase. But they did all of that, and now the youth is like showing people that, hey, man, like we're not gonna use none of that, and we're just gonna stick to being consistent and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in terms of branding, there's a good opportunity now to hit the algorithm if you're being consistent with your branding, if you're marketing yourself properly. You don't need all those magazines, like you said. You don't need all the media sources. This is a greater opportunity than ever to get into the music business, or to get into like to become an artist, just because you can have control over what you're doing, and you can build your own audience that resonates with what you're doing. And I think that the Christian rappers of now are actually better at branding than they've ever been. You have like you
Oh
have
yeah.
like KB, for example, who's like blending worship music with rap music, and he does that consistently throughout his records, and it's really resonating with people. You have other artists that are putting their own twist onto Christian hip hop and doing it consistently, and it sounds good. You have some that it's maybe more ideological, but yeah, like you said, your branding has to be as simple as possible for the customer. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for Christian rappers to be themselves and to do it consistently in a way that resonates with people.
But I really like what you said, because what is happening now,
Mm.
like like one of the reasons that I think that we've went through like a crisis is because a lot of artists didn't know, how do I recreate myself? How
Yeah.
can I like original? Because like me, like my recent album was my third project. Sometimes it's easy to say, yo, I spoke about everything and I don't want to repeat myself and again preach and again, like talk about, when I'm in the desert and blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
like the thing is, we are seeing people uh in their element, and they find ways, like you said, like to add like their own twist, and to add their own identities to the music,
Mm.
and to what they do. And I think that's the key, to kind of find a way to add your own twist to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's keep playing the video.
Number 4 is really important. I'm gonna need everybody to get off social media. If you're posting once a day, you're doing way too much. Okay. See, the more we hear from you, the less I'm interested in who you are, and the less I like you. Because some
Okay, no, 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 no. This is probably, in my opinion, the worst point as of now, because in 2023, the only way
Is
that
the
anybody's ever gonna listen to your music is if you post on social media. Yeah. No, no, that's like the ultimate out of touch point, in my opinion. Show I get it, because 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when Sho Baraka was around and popping, you did not need social media. People were still releasing physical albums. You could still build an audience from traditional ways, but now it's all about social media. It's all about releasing videos consistently on TikTok. People want to know you. They want to know who you are, and that's how they'll resonate with you before they resonate with the music.
And this is why earlier I told you I was wondering, is he talking about specific people? Because, like you said, this is applicable to 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 what I like to call legacy artists. Legacy artists that come from the CD era, they have a following that are still following them till
Yeah.
this day. Of course, these people, they don't have to go crazy like on social media. The best example we have is Nas. Nas is not on social media. He's minding his business, drops some good music, and everybody goes crazy.
Yeah.
But you have to be Nas. He's
It's
like,
nice.
it's Nas. You're so most people are not Nas,
No.
and for older artists, I do see the value in that,
Yeah.
right? When you have a really loyal fan base that you've built since like the CD days. But like you said, now with these new artists, like the attention span of these kids is so small. The moment they don't see you, they feel like you don't exist.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's
Like,
why I was wondering, is he talking about some old artists that he feels like, oh, they are too old to be on social media every day. That's what I
maybe,
mean.
but I get it though, because even like I feel like I struggle with the social media aspect more than anything. It's hard to get on social media. So like I get it. If you're like anywhere close to a past generation, it's tough, man. Like I don't even like thinking of Sho Baraka as a legacy artist because that's who I was listening to when I was a teenager,
But
and that doesn't feel like it was long ago.
we are there. We are
Yeah.
old. It's,
Sheesh.
bro,
Yeah.
and and I kid you not. When you sent me the article,
Yeah.
on the article, I'm like, who is this? And I look close and I'm like, this is Sho Baraka?
Sho Baraka with the white hair.
The long dread and the white hair, almost like
Yeah.
me. Right? I was like, yo, we old, man. So it's bro, like what he said, I completely agree like with you. It's kind of applicable for a past generation. For these new kids now, it doesn't make any sense.
But I mean, let's say you have someone like the ambassador. We haven't heard about the ambassador. You know the ambassador
Yeah,
cross
yeah.
movement, right? Okay, we haven't heard about the ambassador in years. He's released some stuff, but you don't really hear about it all that much. The ambassador made a career from doing Christian hip hop. If he wants to continue doing that, even though he's what, like 40, 45, 50 years old, maybe, he's probably going to need to get onto social media and like to some extent, right? What do you do when you're in that situation and you want to keep living off your music?
I mean,
Because not like Nas can probably live off of his like royalties from like Illmatic and It Was Written and like older albums, but a Christian artist like the Ambassador or Flame might not have like that same luxury, right?
I
Or even Sho Baraka.
I really agree. And like this is why that what I think is that these artists they do it for fun and they accept the fact that hey, I'm not gonna be as popping as the other guy because I don't want to be on social media all day.
Yeah.
Some of these artists, this is what they have in mind, and I was thinking the same way too. But then I was like, hey man, listen, you kind of like a new artist now. Nobody cares what you did 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
it's painful to me to post and be online. I really don't like it, but I started to get used to it and I see the value in it. But there is some people they'll they'll be okay with just releasing music once in a while and they just not gonna jump on social media and be consistent with it. And it's I mean it's really a tough question. Like it depends. Like even me, like honestly, if it wasn't for the music, I would not be out there. I would not be out there, but you know.
Yeah. Nah, I get it. I'm actually having fun doing like videos and all sorts
Yeah,
of stuff.
for
Yeah.
like editing and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but it's tough. It's weird. Okay, let's keep playing.
Sometimes anonymity is your best attribute. Within the authority that I have, I am going to add to the canon a 10th fruit of the Spirit, and that is to shut your mouth. Number 5, I'm instituting hip hop chapters across the nation, like a union where you pay your dues and you have to connect with people in person. You need to be close enough to someone in community that they can slap you, because some of y'all need to be slapped for some of the things y'all say and do. Because this virtual connection is just not getting it. Okay, what happened to the love for the conferences, right? The legacies, also bring back the Holy Hip Hop Awards. Don't keep the name, change the name, but bring that back. Number 6.
Okay. Well, okay. What do you think about that?
Nah,
I'm
you
not
go,
even sure.
you go
I go
first.
first. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, man. Yes. Okay. Accountability. That's important for sure. I think. Um, I've seen like younger people struggling with accountability, and it must be to another level with the artists as well. You know, some of them, they might say things that are out of line in their songs, they might say things that are out of line on social media, and I think that still today, if you're a Christian hip-hop artist, if you're like putting yourself out there in that way, you should have strong accountability. You should have uh you should be in a small group. You should have an accountability partner. You should be rooted in your church so that people are checking you and not just be out there like talking about Jesus but wilding out also. So yeah, accountability is important at every level. Whatever you're doing, if you're a Christian, you need accountability. That I've spoken about on my videos. I like absolutely crucial. And from what some of the artists like have been doing out there, it's clear that they're some of them don't have that accountability. Some of them maybe don't have that level of discipleship. But if Sho Baraka is criticizing younger artists for not having a certain level of accountability, I think he's well positioned as like a veteran of Christian hip hop to be checking these younger artists in person, right?
Uh, Very good point. The tough thing about accountability, it starts with the individual.
For sure.
The individual has to be like, hey, I feel like I need this.
For sure.
And sometimes if that doesn't happen, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
And I do feel like sometimes what happens is that you're gonna have a guy, right? Um, like especially for these young kids, like sometimes, of course, like people know them at their local church and in their communities.
Mm.
Now he has 20,000 followers.
Yeah.
So in real life, he's not that famous and he doesn't have like this huge voice, but on the internet, he has a huge platform and like people see him and and like things like that. So I do feel like it's crucial like for them to be part of a church. But what I'm seeing now, there's a lot of like I saw the interview of I think it was Karen Delight. He went on Ruslan.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that on Ruslan.
Yeah. And he said how he was struggling to stick to a place, because of a lot of things. And I can kind of relate because there is, it's tough to find a place where the trust is like mutual and where like you feel that you can really, really plant your feet. And I do agree, like with you, it's even worse if you are an artist and you have a struggle to kind of, to really tap in with like a local church and a small group. It can be really, really tough, especially when it comes to like social media and you on the mic versus you like in real life.
Yeah.
Like I feel, but I'll be honest with you. I agree with Sho Baraka, but it's always been an issue. It's been like this for the past 20 years. It's always been an issue.
Yeah.
Um, back when my brother used to start doing rap with his friends back in the 90s, it's always an issue because what happens is that, like, typically in church, they walk with you from 18 to 25, 26, 27. The moment you get to 27, 28, you get married. There's like there's a few stuff in the church that you can do, but it has to be the individual that runs after people for fellowship.
Man,
It doesn't come easy.
you went to a really good church if they took care of you all the way until 25.
No, because before when I was young, like sometimes it
Yeah.
was. No, you're right. But 25, it's like borderline. Like you get to 25, there's no more retreats.
Like it's like get married and like move on. You don't have time for you anymore.
Bro, this one time I went back to my to my church to like the youth service. It was a Friday.
Yeah.
I was over 25. I was maybe 26, 27. And I walked in there, and in my heart, I said, okay, I know that this is the last time that I'm here. Like, I just felt like the disconnection was huge. Of course, I could have been like, well, maybe it's, like an opportunity for you to approach, the youth pastor, to maybe serve, to get involved. But I just felt like, like we spoke about, there's a lot of people, and I guess it's the same thing with these artists. Once you reach like a certain age, you're going to have your own friends, your own guys. Oh, and by the way, I can relate to something really specific sometimes that happens. A lot of these Christian artists, their best friends are not Christian. Sometimes it is, but like sometimes they have good friends that they fear God in a way, but they're not Christian. So if you combine that plus with the fact that there is no fellowship at their local church,
Mm.
and they are all over the place, and they're not like stable to one place,
Mm.
it's challenging.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's been
challenging
like that.
for
It's a
sure.
good point, but it's been like that. Like in my opinion, it's been that part. It's been tough for the last 20 years. It's just a tough thing to do.
Mm.
Um, but you had a good idea with Sho Baraka, like maybe like volunteering. But who's gonna now? Like one of these kids might be like, okay, so you just dissed us, so we're not here with you. But it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's a really good idea. Um, and like to be honest with you, what prevented me from like making like certain mistakes when I was young, like when I was like starting in ministry and I started to do shows, and they started to book me like all over the place.
Mm.
My brother was not just my producer; he was also my manager, but he was also like a mentor.
Yeah.
To tell me, hey, don't do this, don't go there. This might happen. Okay, for this, you really have to pray on this. So I had that in my corner. But some of these artists, they're just left in the field like that,
Yeah.
and it gets tough.
Yeah. That's true. All right.
Before you get a record deal, you must go through the following process. We have to get you counseling. We got to catch that trauma before you start trying to process it in front of hundreds of thousands of people. We just don't need you to publicly be processing your pain and your trauma. It's not good. It's not a good look. Number 7.
I feel like that's a jab at Lecrae.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But I think part of being an artist is maybe not processing like your feelings and your issues live, but looking back at your issues can produce some of the best music.
of course.
Yeah.
I hate that point.
You what?
What he just said,
Yeah.
I completely disagree.
Oh
I
yeah.
do in terms of um the aesthetic of it,
Yeah.
but in real life, I really dislike this because I feel like it's not the real life. It's not real like
Yeah.
people cars. But of course, the concept of what he says, that's dope in a perfect world. Oh, we will predict who has talent, who might go crazy, and we're gonna grab him and see if he's willing to open up about his trauma and like some of his challenges and some of his addictions. It it doesn't work this way, but I do understand what he's trying to say. But it's just it it makes it realer when the audience see, oh my god, this guy, he has scars. Oh, I can actually, oh, I can survive even if I have that scar. I
Yeah.
can actually, like survive and make it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man. One of my favorite albums back in the day was The Whole Truth by The Truth. He had just been through like some really rough stuff in his marriage. He had like an affair and everything, and he
Oh
got
yeah, I
yeah,
heard about.
and that was like 2009, and he healed from that. Him and his wife, they like stayed together and fought through this. He seeked like counseling and all that, but he shared all of that on that album, and in my opinion, that was and still is one of the most powerful Christian hip hop albums, just because the testimony that was given in there was so raw and so real. And like you said, I have this scar, but God can still take me through it and like make a beautiful testimony out of it. That's incredibly powerful. And I think that people react in a stronger way to testimonies than they do to just like hearing Bible verses in a song.
Yeah, and you being perfect for 5 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like you said, that job that we both think that is aimed that is aimed at prey. Like Lecrae said one thing one day, and I felt this is something that we don't give him enough credit. He said, I gave y'all all of my scars. Nobody caught me. I went on wax and shared with y'all, some of my addiction, like some of my struggles. He could have played the perfect card like a lot of other artists do,
Mm.
you know, but instead he shared these things, and like you said, there's power in that because you now more than ever you understand that when this artist told you he's not better than you and he needs Jesus as bad as you, it wasn't cap. It's
Yeah,
real,
it's real.
you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, man.
We must allow the genre to grow with its audience. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an old head, but I don't have 20-year-old problems anymore. And if you're over 35 and you're still rapping like you're a teenager, slow down, Peter Pan. All right, but also if you're an old head, you got to make good music, okay? It's like sports.
Okay. Yeah, that one was really for him. That was a point for him. He was like, "Man, I want to hear more guys my age talking about things my age." I get it.
I agree.
And maybe that's why we feel like he's out of touch, because he's probably really not interested in listening to like the John Keats and Cheering the Light and just younger folk than him that like are going through
But
like their 20s.
um I agree. I love this point, but I just feel like it's it it's a little bit okay. e- Every genre has the same problem, and here's the problem.
Hmm.
And it's just like a life thing. This what happens with music. And of course, it's my opinion. And I would like you, of course, after that to kind of comment and like tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Like, I was recently talking to someone and I said, it's crazy how sometimes you have a legacy artist. Let's say you have a Jay-Z, like you have a 50 Cent, you have a Lecrae. You're gonna go and like listen to that classic verse or that classic album that you heard that is like connected to your childhood or like your high school. And
Hmm.
then you follow this artist's career and you will see, hey, he kept on making some really good music, but you are always connected to that old song. So what happens is a lot of artists, as Sho Baraka said, they make music, and of course the music will grow, but sometimes the artist will struggle with the fact that when you're young, you have all of the free time in the world. There is a reason why these labels are always targeting the younger like generation. They have time, they have the most free time to consume the music, right?
Hmm.
What happens is that like till this day, like when I listen to like I don't even like listen to like for example okay, if I take a song um Biggie's Juicy, like it's classic, right?
Yeah,
I don't listen to Biggie Smalls anymore, but when I listen to that song, it's connected to a specific time in my childhood.
for sure.
It brings you back, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that as we get older, very often like what happens, your young fans, they're going to listen to you from 15, 19, normally around 20, 21, 22, they drop. And then there's other things in life they have to focus, work, school, like whatever. Then they have a girl, they get married. So now they no longer have the time to travel with you and to grow with you. And this
Hmm.
is why they always go back to these older records because that was the time that they had a lot of free time to be just gone in your music. So
Yeah.
very and I feel like with Sho Baraka, I do agree, but it's always tough because a lot of artists they're trying to replicate that old feeling because they in their minds they feel like you know why there's not like more people connecting to my recent music,
Hmm.
but it's not. It's really not that the music is not real or like blah blah blah. It's just that as we get older, like even myself. I find myself struggling to keep up with a lot of music. I don't have the same amount of free time.
Yeah.
And we go to work, you have your wife, you have your little projects on the side, you have
Yeah.
to do this. So of course, like, you're gonna listen to some music, but often you don't have time to really, like, even some of my favorite artists,
Mm.
I didn't have time to listen to the entire catalog.
Yeah.
Like, some of my best artists, I've listened to 3, 4 projects, but like, let's say a guy like Nas, I haven't listened to the entire 2023 albums,
Yeah.
or
And
or
Nas has been like releasing album
yeah, albums.
one after another.
And I'm so late. I'm not even. I haven't listened to Church Clothes. I haven't listened to Lecrae with
1K
1K.
few. Oh yeah.
2 songs. Like, there's a lot of music that I have to catch up to. I haven't listened to the recent Bizzle. Like, I listened to the single, but it's tough for me
Yeah.
to follow all of that music. And I just feel like Sho Baraka has a great point in terms of, yes, you want your music to grow with the audience, but it's always gonna be tough because your audience at some point they're gonna disconnect. And I just feel like the artist now, he's in a tough spot. Do I try to kind of talk like I like I used to kind of get that momentum, or do I continue to talk about things that are happening now? Of course,
Yeah.
me, I have to stay recent and talk about what I'm going through, like, in the present. But I feel like some artists are just lost in the sense of, like, I don't know. I feel like I do agree, but it's tough on the other end,
Mm.
to kind of deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And also things are moving really fast. Artists are releasing more music now than they've ever had. It's really, really hard to keep up. I get it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel do you have some artists that you were able to follow from top to bottom after 15 years?
I still follow Lecrae like top to bottom. I don't think I've missed one Lecrae song. Uh yeah. Yeah, but my way of consuming the music isn't the same, Whereas like when I was a teenager, I had time to listen to like the same song 100 times, analyze all of the lyrics, really think about it. Now, like I'll just catch up. I'll just like listen to the song and be like, "Oh, that's dope." Put it in my playlist, and
Yeah.
while I'm listening to music, it'll just play. But I'm probably not gonna learn the song by heart. I'm probably not gonna take it to heart the same way that I did before. But yeah, I'm still catching up with most of the artists that I really care to follow.
Man, you're good. You're really good. You're really good. Me, I find it just really, really hard. Like, I wish I had time to just listen to. There's so many projects that I wish I could just, like, listen to top to bottom.
Mm,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, man.
Sports with old people. When you were young in your 20s, you can go out, you can just hoop, and you don't even need to warm up. You don't need to stretch or nothing. You can just play 5 times a week. But when you're old, you just can't you can't play 5. Can only play once a week, and you also definitely have to stretch. And similarly with music, some of y'all, before you get out there and you just make an album, stretch, just stretch for a long time. Number 8, we need to know what church you're attending, and I need to see your attendance record, right? Don't be speaking on the behalf of people you don't like or connect with, okay? Just imagine a student being like, Sho Baraka is my professor. And I'm like, sir, you never come to class. You ain't my student. You just...
Okay, I'm gonna brush over this one fast, but like, bro, rappers don't need to be accountable to the entire world. Just be accountable to your church. Make sure you're in a solid church where you're being discipled, and that's it, man. We don't need to like see your records.
I agree with you, but I think, again, he was being sarcastic. I think what he's trying to say is,
Maybe.
these gospel rappers that rap, but you barely go to church, or
Mhm.
you don't like people from the church, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been around some of these believers. They're believers, but they hate church folks, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen it. So
Yeah, me too.
maybe he was being sarcastic, But I do agree, of course, like with you, like you have to, of course, commit to your local church, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, maybe he's sarcastic, but I'm really just taking him to his word, whatever he says. But yeah, maybe it's more of a lighthearted suggestion. I
Yeah,
don't
an attendance card. That was crazy.
know.
Just
That was
quoting words, beloved. Number 9. If you've only read one book, do not do interviews or a podcast because we just don't need your opinion right now. You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's the same. Like what he's saying is the same thing as that Dave Chappelle joke about Ja Rule. Like we don't need Ja Rule's opinion about politics or terrorism. I can't remember what it was. Have you heard that joke?
no,
Okay,
but how you say it's funny?
okay. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, a lot of artists, they need to get on podcasts to talk about their music, to talk just share what's going on in their career, because that's how people consume content. But yeah, if they've read one book, we don't need to hear like their theological like views. We don't need to hear them talk about the 5 points of Calvinism. We don't need to hear their opinion about like
I
yeah,
completely agree. I agree. The only thing that I'm hurting for some people because like sometimes they've been invited and the host just wants to you know like the artist think, oh, he's gonna ask me some questions about my music
music.
or my testimony, and then the podcast goes completely you
Yeah,
know um,
I saw an interview like that recently. It was man, it was John Keith with a bunch of other rappers. I can't remember their names, but they had some beef, and the whole point of the podcast was just to squash the beef, but then it veered off into like theological debate, and some of those guys, they just weren't ready to have that type of discussion, and it was kind of a mess.
yeah,
Yeah,
like I'm like that's what happened. Like sometimes like I'm definitely for people like expressing themselves and just talk about their testimony, but like sometimes they put you on the spot, and of course the wisest thing would be to say, hey, I'm not too advanced in this, I'm just
yeah,
not, but sometimes you don't want to be embarrassed, so you're gonna try to talk about things, but I do agree, if you're trying to talk about theology, and if you're not with it, just
yeah. But also, Christians, let rappers be rappers, and then go to your favorite theologian if you have questions about theology. You know.
this is good,
Mm,
this is really good, really really good, because I remember like what, like maybe 10 years ago,
yeah.
that was my issue. I was
Mm,
listening to some of these rappers, and I was looking at these guys like biblical teachers.
mm.
But it's not, it's definitely not the case for a lot of these rappers. Like some of these rappers or were just like freshly from, just like just got baptized, and like trying to
They,
fix.
they they just got out of jail and they got baptized the next day.
Yeah, so it's like there's nothing wrong with that. Glory to God.
Yeah.
But through that uh in terms of that spiritual stake,
Mm,
if you think about it, that's one of the things that I really like sometimes struggle with. How you want me to put all of that theology and all of this knowledge in a now in 2023 and a 2 minute
mumble rap.
yeah, and a 2 minute and 13 seconds mumble rap. You want me to put all of that spiritual stake? Like it's just not gonna happen. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try I can and give you, but no, you have a great point. Like you go to your rappers, to vibe, like to your music, but definitely if you need dope theology, there's other things you can do for sure.
Yeah. But I think part of like that debate or that struggle between like, oh, do I talk about theology in my songs, or do I just make like alternative bops for Christian kids, is that when we had cross movement back in the days, their purpose was really to like give was to preach in the streets and to preach in a way that people would like listen to them, and that way just happened to be hip hop, and that's how Christian hip hop evolved. It evolved from there, mostly from cross movement. So there's still those roots that are there of what we had we had rappers that were also strong theologically and they knew their stuff. And now, well, we're just kind of making rap, but talking like saying Jesus once every like 10 songs or whatever.
You know
It's
what I think? I think that the same way there is like subgenres,
Mhm.
like there is like subcategories. I think this is what we need in Christian hip hop.
Yeah.
Some guys will really excel in trying to convince this guy that it's lukewarm to become real. Some other guys are really good at, hey, this guy, this girl, she recently converted, and this artist has that that knack to talk to these people. And some guys that are, theologically, like crazy and all, will kind of feed these people that are uh, uh, hungry for that steak, like for
Yeah.
these uh, these verse filled with, the biblical treasures and all of that. So I do feel like there's different types of consumers, and very often it's been happening for years now. People feel like all of the Christian consumers are the same, and it's not true.
That's
And
true. That's true.
but we feel like we are all the same because the Christian rap sphere is so
It's small.
small. So
Yeah.
people, oh, they all like the same thing, but no. Like one of my friends, he told me, he's like, oh yeah, I disconnected from Lecrae like a long time ago. Like
Mm,
I like against the guy, but I just no longer can relate to that. And he's gonna gravitate, to other guys, right? So there is different types of artists for different types of needs, and I
that's
feel
really good.
it's really something we feel like all Christian rap fans are all looking for the same thing, and it's
That's
not.
really good. That's good, man. Yep.
Example, like sometimes, like I was surprised. I would have never thought I would vibe to a guy like 1K, and the other day I think on the first time I heard him, it was on Lecrae's album. Uh, which one was it? I think there
All
was.
things work together.
Yeah,
Hammer time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is good.
Hmm.
I was like, it's like I'm a big fan of bars and
Yeah.
lyrics. Like, this is actually really, really good.
Mm.
And sometimes I want to hear some bars, and I'm gonna hear a guy like this dude with the Menace movement. His name is he's bald, he has glasses, he has these crazy bars.
Oh, Jay Monty. Is that Jay
No,
Monty? No,
no,
no, no, no, no.
Stefano.
Menace movement. Huh?
Stefano. He raps with
Stefano.
Dayton.
Yeah, I know all those guys. Dayton, Bizzle. Like, I don't know Stefano.
Is it Stefano? Is it Monty maybe?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, his and not only he has bars, but he often raps on boom track. He often raps on like these grimy East Coast beats that I love. Like this dude is just I forgot his name. He's really about lyrics and punchlines and everything else. So
Mm.
we all have different vibes and different needs, and I think people always expect that we all want the same thing, but it's not really the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm gonna hurry it up even more because I've got to go. I'm gonna play the last point and then we're gonna conclude the video.
Yeah, same here.
And this is a whole lot. This is a whole lot. A lot of people are talking right now. All right, and lastly, number 10, and very important. If you're a Black artist, for every Creation Fest or CCM tour you do, you're indebted to do at least 5 missionary Baptist churches, 2 Kojic churches, or you could just do 1 Church of God. This is the way. I have spoken. This is my objective.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I support each other as a Black community, for sure, for sure. If you're out there and you're a Black artist and you're making music, it depends on your audience, right? If your audience is like white, like youth group kids, I guess go for that audience. But if you're a Black artist, try to get some support from the Black community and try to support the Black community as well with what you're doing, especially if you have some success. I agree with his point. I don't think for every one concert in a white environment you need to do 5 for the Black community, but I think he still makes a good point.
Uh, I can't really talk about the subject because, like, the churches he was talking about, I don't really know them, but I do understand like the concept in terms of like supporting your communities. But to
Yeah,
be honest with you, me as an artist, like I was always told that some of the people that you think will support you, they won't support you.
I've
Some
I've
people
been
out
through that.
of nowhere will support you crazy, and you're gonna be like, "What?" So I've seen it. So as an
I've
art,
experienced that also.
yeah. So as an
Yeah,
artist, I'm just gonna go where, like, I used to get like some invites from people that, yo, we want you to come, and I'm like, yo, the love is crazy. And then I thought this other place would kind of reach me, and they ignored me for years. So
yeah.
sometimes I think like the artists, they will go like where they, like,
Where the bag is at.
exactly, and where the love is. Like sometimes it's
Yeah, where
not
the love is. Yeah, for sure.
feel the love is somewhere, and it could be a whole bunch. It could be a Spanish church or it's a white
Mm,
church, and hey, like if there is love there, I'm gonna go over
yeah,
there. Why not?
yeah. All right, man. Hey, thanks so much for joining me on this conversation, man. It was good. This is probably my favorite stream I've done as of now. I think
Oh
I want
wow,
to do more of these streams
of course,
just
of
with
course,
discussions. It's been
of
really
course,
good, man. Thanks for sharing your opinion. I really
of
appreciate
course.
it.
Hey, and I also want to give you a shout out, man. A shout out to your platform. You are really, doing your best to push the kingdom to have these really important conversation. Go check out Dudley's music. He's humble, but he's also bilingual. He has that French rap, that English rap for y'all. And stay tuned. Hopefully, by the grace of God, we're gonna have more collabs and stuff like that. So I thank you also, man. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, man. And how can people find you? What platforms can people find you on?
So Instagram, Casey Breeze LB. I'm also on TikTok, Casey Breeze LB. Facebook as well, Casey Breeze. Facebook is kind of, I'm there, but mostly it's mostly IG, TikTok, and Facebook. Oh yes, of course, and my YouTube, of course. Casey Breeze LB. There's plenty of videos over there. There's plenty of content if you want to look at it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, man. Have a great evening. Talk to
Same
you
to you.
soon.